Week 11 of the 2021 college football season is over, and today, as we head into Week 12, I'll be giving you guys my updated college football rankings for this 2021 college football season. And looking back at Week 11, saw some major matchups. Of course, the big storyline of the day was Oklahoma. They took their first loss of the season to Baylor, and they're 9-1 as we head into Week 12. So certainly things are heating up a lot as we head into the middle parts of November. And believe it or not, we're only about a month away from bowl season and 2 or 3 weeks away from finding out who's going to be in the college football playoffs. So, a lot's going to happen here in the next couple of weeks, and it's going to be a fun finish to this regular season. But that being said, let's get into our rankings for Week 12. 1 through 7 will be first, and Georgia remains number 1. They're easily the best team in the country right now. They're 10-0 and beat Tennessee 41-17 this past weekend, and that game was somewhat close at first. Tennessee, they looked like they were going to hang in there for a while, but yeah, Georgia, they destroyed them in the end. But for Tennessee, they actually played a solid game, scoring 17 points. Looking at Georgia, this is a football team that was only allowing 6 points a game heading into Saturday. So for Tennessee to score 17 is actually not a bad performance. But that just shows. Georgia, they're the most dominant team in the nation by a huge margin right now, and I don't know if any team can beat them, to be honest with you. Alabama potentially in the FCC championship game could maybe make it a close game, but Georgia, that's a football team that is phenomenal defensively, and they're going to be a tough team to beat down the stretch. And quite honestly, I'm not sure if any college football team can beat them, but we'll see what happens. A lot of things can happen, and certainly this is a very unpredictable college football season. But Ohio State is my number 2. They beat Purdue 59-31 was the final score there, and they are 9-1. And if you guys have followed my rankings for a few weeks, you guys would know that I do like Ohio State. I think this is a football team that is somewhat underrated by the committee. Week 2, they did take a loss to Oregon. They lost to Oregon back in Week 2, and of course, back in Weeks 1 through 3, Ohio State just did not look like a very good football team. But since then, this team has dramatically improved, and they only are getting better as we head into the middle parts of November here. So Ohio State, they're probably my favorite to win the Big Ten right now, but a lot of things can happen, and they've got a big showdown coming up this weekend to Michigan State, and they've got Michigan too coming up, so 2 of the best teams in the Big Ten East, Ohio State is playing here in the next couple of weeks. So we'll find out whether the Buckeyes are for real or not, and as of right now, my projections are saying that they will win the Big Ten. So, but we'll see what happens. Once again, anything can happen. For all we know, Michigan could beat Ohio State. It hasn't happened in a long time, but who knows? It's going to be a crazy next couple weeks here, especially in the Big Ten. But Ohio State right now is my number 2. I really do think, C.J. Stroud is only getting better, and this Ohio State football team is once again only getting better. Alabama is my number 3. They beat New Mexico State 59-3. They're 9-1 heading into Week 12, and they're moving up 1 position after last week. So Alabama, the committee really likes the Crimson Tide. They've got them at number 2. And I could see why, but Alabama, they did just take a loss a few weeks ago, and Alabama, they continue to show that they're a very dominant football team. But I've got Ohio State ahead of Alabama by barely anything. Both teams are very close to each other, and if we had Ohio State and Alabama play each other, it'd be a very close game and easily could go either way. Oregon's my number 4. They beat Washington State 38-24. Overall, solid win for the Ducks, and Oregon continues to only get better over the course of the college football season, and they're 9-1 as well heading into Week 12. And who knows? Back-12 team. If Oregon wins out, they should be in the college football playoff. The committee obviously really likes Oregon, so which is very reasonable. The Ducks are a very talented football team this season, and they've played outstanding. Other than their loss to Stanford, and some of the rankings that the committee, the rankings by the committee have been kind of controversial, and rightfully so. Of course, you got the committee, which it kind of concerns me because some of their logic is very inconsistent. Like, for example, they rank Oregon ahead of Ohio State, I'm assuming because Oregon beat Ohio State back in Week 2. But then again, if you look at Michigan State and Michigan was ranked ahead of Michigan State because for whatever reason, Michigan State literally just beat Michigan 2 weeks ago. So, a lot of the logic by the committee has been inconsistent so far this college football season, and I could go on and on about it. But then again, these are my rankings, and I think this is the best way to go, certainly. But yeah, Oregon's my number 4. Cincinnati's my number 5. They beat South Florida 45-28. Overall solid win. They're 10-0, and quite honestly, Cincinnati, that's a football team that I think is deserving of being in the college football playoff, but will the committee put them in? Probably not, if I'm being totally honest with you. But yeah, Cincinnati, they beat South Florida, overall solid win, but I mean, over the past few games for Cincinnati, they've played a lot of close games, which is kind of concerning because who knows? I mean, if those close games continue, I mean, one of those games could potentially be a loss for the Bearcats. So I'm going to keep them out of the top 4 for right now, but certainly if they can be dominant over the next couple of weeks and if they win the American Athletic Championship game convincingly, I mean, Cincinnati definitely could be in the college football playoffs, so they're definitely a team to watch out for. Notre Dame looked great last night against Virginia. 28-3 was the final score there, and of course Virginia had a couple of injuries and stuff to deal with, but Notre Dame, that's a very good football team, and they're also only getting better. Watch out for the Fighting Irish. They are still in college football playoff contention, but they need a couple upsets to happen. Michigan State is my number 7. They beat Maryland 40-21, and they are 9-1 heading into Week 12. What a surprise team Michigan State has been. That is a very good football team, and they've got a big opportunity to get the win this weekend against Ohio State. Moving on to 8 through 14, Michigan is my number 8. They beat Penn State 21-17, and Wolverines are also a very good football team. I mean, they're still in contention for the college football playoff. I mean, Michigan State, Ohio State, all three of those teams could still be in the top 4. I mean, depending on how the next few weeks shake out. But yeah, Michigan, also a very good football team. Oklahoma State, they beat TCU 63-17, and the Cowboys are currently in the pole position to potentially win the Big 12. They're the best team ranking-wise in the Big 12 now. So certainly, I mean, Oklahoma State, watch out for them. I mean, if they win out, I mean, they've got a very good argument to potentially be in the college football playoffs. So Cowboys, definitely a team to watch out for as well. Ole Miss is my number 10. They beat Texas A&M 29-19 overall. That was a great win. Texas A&M is a very talented football team, and Ole Miss had a great win there. They are 8-2 and the best 2-loss team in the country. Baylor beat Oklahoma 27-14. They're moving up 6 positions after that huge win. And Baylor, wow, I mean, that was an impressive win for them over Oklahoma. And yeah, Baylor, they're 8-2 and also in contention for the Big 12 title. I mean, you got Oklahoma State, Baylor, and Oklahoma, and now, I mean, Oklahoma State plays Oklahoma in a few weeks. And the Bears, of course, have got the tiebreaker now over Oklahoma. So very interesting next couple of weeks for the Big 12 especially. And the Sooners are right there. They're dropping 9 positions after that loss to Baylor. And they've played a lot of close games in this 2021 season. And I've given them the benefit of the doubt for many weeks. And now after that loss by 13 points, I got to drop Oklahoma quite a bit. And we'll see how the Sooners do down the stretch, but the quarterback situation was a mess against Baylor. I mean, Caleb Williams just did not look good, and he was benched for Spencer Rattler. So, I mean, obviously, very interesting situation there in Oklahoma going on right now. Wake Forest is my number 13. They beat NC State 45-42. Wake Forest has had a lot of shootouts this season, and potentially they've got one of the most high-powered offenses in the country. Wake Forest, they're probably the best team in the ACC right now, or I would say that they are clearly now. Since they've beaten NC State. And yeah, so Wake Forest, I mean, New Year's Six bowl game is very much within reach for the Demon Deacons as they're 9-1. UTSA is my number 14. They're staying in the same position after their win against Southern Miss. And same thing for Wake Forest. They're also staying in their same position mainly because Baylor is jumping up. And I don't really want to drop anyone past Wake Forest or UTSA right now. And we also didn't see a whole lot of losses out of the top 15 last week. I mean, Oklahoma was once again the main team that lost. So that's obviously that was the big upset of Week 11. Yeah, UTSA beat Southern Miss. They're 10-0 and they beat them 27-17 and kind of a closer game, closer than expected. But UTSA, I mean, that's a very good football team and they're very underrated. The College Football Playoff Committee is very much overlooking UTSA, I think. I mean, they should be ranked in the top 15 for sure. They're 10-0. I mean, that's a tough thing to do, getting up to 10 wins and being still undefeated 10-0. I mean, that's a rare occasion. So UTSA, they should be ranked top 15. And I mean, the College Football Playoff Committee is just foolish of them. I mean, in my opinion, I mean, to not rank them at least in the top 20. So we'll see what happens, though. Of course, the rankings do come out on Tuesday. 15 through 21. Wisconsin is my 15. They beat Northwestern. I also think Wisconsin is underrated. I mean, the way that they've been playing over the past few weeks, that is a very good football team that has continued to improve over the course of the season. They are 7-3. I've got them ranked as the best 3-loss team in the country. Once again, I mean, they've got a tremendous amount of momentum right now, and they've really come around in the past few weeks and found their stride. So Wisconsin, I've got them in the top 15, and they're, I would say, the clear team that should win the Big Ten West this season. I mean, Iowa has lost their steam, and Minnesota is kind of out of the picture, and same thing with Purdue, now that Purdue lost this weekend. So Wisconsin, Iowa, down to those two teams, and Wisconsin is the tiebreaker. So, I mean, I got to go with Badgers to win that West Division, and overall, they're the better team right now. BYU is number 16. They had a bye week. They're 8-2. 17 is Texas A&M. They lost to Ole Miss, 19-29. Unfortunate loss for the Aggies there, but overall, I mean, they kept it close for a while, but Ole Miss really controlled that game for a long time. So they're moving down 7 positions. They're 7-3. Still a good bowl game, is very much within reach for the Aggies. Number 18 is Houston. They beat Temple, so they're moving up 1 position after that win. They won that one 37-8. And Houston, that is a very underrated football team. They're 9-1. Now they're playing pretty well as well. I mean, the committee should be ranking them a decent ways up there. I'd say in the top 20 as well. Iowa, they beat Minnesota 27-22. Kind of a close game there. I mean, what happened to Iowa? It's been crazy seeing this team kind of fall off over the past few weeks. They had a close game to Northwestern, one of the worst teams in the conference last week. They lost 2 straight games to Purdue, and of course Iowa had a close one to Minnesota, which Golden Gophers are a decent football team, but Iowa right now is just, I mean, that's been a huge surprise seeing them fall off as much as they have. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Iowa, Wisconsin, it'll be fun to see who wins that division. Arkansas is my number 20. They beat LSU 16-30. Gutsy win for Arkansas. They're playing pretty well right now. They're 7-3, moving up 4 positions after that win. So Arkansas, they're having a good season. They're deserving of being in a good bowl game. Pittsburgh is my number 21. They beat North Carolina 30-23, and they're 8-2, one of the best teams in the ACC. Overall, good win. Kenny Pickett. I mean, that team has had some inconsistencies, but yeah, Pittsburgh is definitely a team that I'm pretty confident in as we head closer and closer to finding out who wins the ACC this season. I mean, we've seen Clemson completely dominate that conference, over the past few years, and totally different story this year. It's wide open for any team to win it as of right now. 22 through 25, Louisiana enters the rankings at 22. In fact, all 4 of these teams are entering the rankings this week. Louisiana, they beat Troy 35-21. They've been in the first 5 out for 3 or 4 weeks, I think. So Louisiana finally jumps up in the top 25, and they're 9-1, having a good season. And Louisiana has also won 9 in a row. Their only loss of the season was to Texas in week 1. Utah's number 23. They beat Arizona 38-29. They're 7-3. Kansas State beat West Virginia 34-17. They're 7-3. And Kentucky won their game against Vanderbilt 34-17. So same score for both those games, and they've also got the same records. Kansas State is very underrated, I think. Kansas State hardly has any votes in the AP and the coaches polls, but Kansas State, I like that football team. They're playing very well right now. They've won a few games straight. They're getting some momentum going, and they're 7-3. So Kansas State, I believe that they should be ranked this week. And then, of course, Kentucky is also playing decently well, even though they've taken a few losses recently. I mean, Kentucky, that's a football team that started out the season really well, and they took 3 losses over the past month. But, they're still a good football team, so I'm going to put them at 25. First 5 out, San Diego State 26, NC State 27, Penn State 28, Mississippi State 29, and Arizona State is my number 30. Dropped out. Auburn was 18 last week, and they've taken their 4th loss, so they're dropping out. Coastal Carolina also lost. Not many people probably know that, but Coastal Carolina took another loss this weekend. Purdue's taking their 4th loss. Penn State has also taken their 4th loss, so both of those teams are out of the rankings. But that being said, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on these rankings. Hopefully they're better than the committees. The committees, if you guys have been following me on the community tab, I have heavily disagreed on the committee's rankings over the past few weeks. So we'll see what happens on Tuesday night when they come out for week 12. But my goodness, some of the logic by the committee has been very inconsistent, and I could go on and on about it. Maybe I'll make a video about how inconsistent the committee has been. But anyway, let me know your thoughts and comments below on week 12's rankings, and I appreciate you guys all watching as always. Stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll see you later.